Hello there, Taurus, and Happy New Year. I hope your holiday season was great. I can't wait to take a look at January 2018 to see what opportunities are in store for you. As I was starting to meditate on your sign, the channeled information that I received was that this is a time for you to create momentum. And I specifically saw the mental imagery of like a rocket or a spaceship kind of going out into space. And if you think of like traditional, like if you look at the US space program, there's usually a big rocket booster and it pushes something up. What does that hold? A lot of fuel. What is fuel? But it's basically energy that you've stored up. So what we're looking at in January is this is your month to create sort of like this excess or padding or storage capacity to really bolster the rest of the year. So you want to take special care of your body. So I really want you to focus on mental and physical fitness this month. I want you to also take a look at your finances and supercharge those or alleviate any sort of debt or strain on those when and if possible. And then look at other areas of your life, wherever you might be thinking of creating some resources. This can be a professional or personal network to support you. And this could also just be you creating something new, like a project. So maybe this is a new invention, a new idea, a new artistic endeavor, or a new business endeavor. Whatever it is, I see it as fuel and something that is going to create opportunities throughout 2018. But this is the month where you put the basically the work in to create that storage. You're not going to necessarily see an immediate return on it. But like all investments, you usually have to invest, wait, and then see the return. So I'm really encouraging everyone to think about what it is that inspires you, put the energy into that, and create momentum. That's what January 2018 is about for Taurus. Now we're going back to the traditional format. So for those of you that are new, I like to look at a Celtic cross, which will give me a nice basic forecast for the month. And then I expand it out to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. Let me go ahead and shuffle the cards and we'll see what's coming through. Just a heads up that I also pull an additional card, which I call a catalyst. And the catalyst is a way to connect all these threads together, and it also creates action. So this might be how you can affect the creation of momentum. Let me be quiet for a moment and just pull the cards and see what's coming through at this moment. All right, and as promised, let's go ahead and pull that catalyst card and see what message it has for you. And this card here wants to come out. Okay, so your catalyst message this month is a web upside down here, the spider card. And I love this because it's basically showing you that you have the power to decide that you don't necessarily need to get involved or caught up in other people's situations. It also is a card of power. Spiders are powerful. They create, they're resistant to a lot of things. If a web gets broken, they just create something new. So the two messages here are, if it's sort of a time in your life where you feel trapped or you feel like you've just sort of accumulated a lot of junk, do what a spider would do. Snip all of these pieces that you no longer need and then start to create a new tapestry, a new something else in your life that's going to attract things. Because what is a web? It's like one of nature's most attractive forces. Things get caught in it, but you can use a web in a really positive metaphor, which is I'm going to get people excited about what I can do, what I have to offer, and I want them to get basically pulled into my enthusiasm, my energy. So that's like a positive use of the web. And since it's reversed, the negative or what you want to release is people that might have got you wrapped up in their lives and you don't need to be there anymore. So this is a card of empowerment. So take back your power and create. And that really also is a nice complement to the creation of momentum. So that is what's going to allow you to bring in what you want, just like this web brings in what that spider wants, which is a meal. But for you, it's going to create a different sort of sustenance, okay? Let's go ahead and look at the cards now one by one and get a little sense of clarity here on what January has to offer. It's interesting that we look at the sort of fuel card here, the Princess of Pentacles, and it is in reverse. That's showing me that some of you that might be looking at your finances at the beginning of the month could feel a little bit of anxiety or a little less comfortable with where you're at. So What you need to do is make some decisions about budgeting, about goals, and turn that around. I like that this card is in the center. It shows that it's something that you can control and manifest, and that's why we have the Emperor card right on top of it. So the main message that the Emperor is telling you here is that this isn't the month where you're going to delegate all of your responsibilities or allow for someone else to make major decisions with your finances or your career. You want to have an equal seat at the table. You want to raise your concerns, raise your voice if you need to. Make sure that you're heard. So step in and reclaim control, because when I look at your deep past, we have the Queen of Pentacles, which is showing that you've made some strong strides over 2017. So you want to kind of go back and remind this person, wait, did you remember that I actually did this, this, and this? And you have to sometimes nudge them on the value that you're bringing. And if they don't recognize that, it also might be time, or it's a sign that it might be time for you to move on or try something different. I love this card. A compliment to the Death card. Rebirth is really telling you now that whatever you're letting go of, whatever, like when we're looking at the Spider card, whatever you're deciding to remove from your web and create something brand new, this is saying, okay, it's going to create a much better 2018. So sacrifice, moving on, release. It's always difficult. It's interesting. Before, I almost wrote down the word release, but I realized there was something else. It wasn't just about the release, so I ended up putting create. This card sort of brings both pieces to you, which is through releasing, you're going to have the energy, the space, and the opportunity to create something new. So I love it. Also notice that there's a symbol of fertility here, and also a symbol that things can move quickly once you let go. Okay? But just like this child here, you are going to have to nurture this year, and so we see it twice. We have the sun here, which is showing me the summertime for you is going to be when you're going to see some of the fruits of the labor that you're putting in now. So if you're creating this extra store of energy and potential, the actual execution or the growth or the chance that when you can harvest it is really in the summertime. So I want you to be patient if you can. It's hard sometimes. We want to see like an immediate return. But in this case, it's really going to be a matter of patience winning out, and knowing that when this sort of fruit of your labor is realized, you're going to be so much more appreciative because you know how long it took, and you can really celebrate in the accomplishment. As we look at the near future here, we have the Two of Wands, and the main message that I'm getting with this is that you have some clarity on the direction that you're headed. A lot of times you'll see someone looking at a globe in this card, but this one shows that there's a lot more variety, and you might be looking to the horizon for a cue, but really it needs to start within. Really focus on what it is that you feel that you want to do or need to do this year, and go with your heart. But know that without the clarity, without the desire or the passion, it's harder to accomplish what you're trying to do. So I want you to somehow get close to your really what your heart feels and needs to do this year, and that's going to help you. Especially when we take a look at your ego at the moment. The Four of Cups is a card of wanting, wishing, sometimes not realizing an opportunity that's, in this case, like right behind you, right beside you, because you're sort of focusing on what hasn't happened. So I want to shift the perspective to wishes, desires, and possibilities, not so much on failures, setbacks, or limitations. So I want you to go more expansive with your thoughts and think I can and I will, rather than I haven't, I won't, or I shouldn't. So of course, this is more in the realm of like possibilities on career growth or personal growth or improvements in health, etc. We want to put them as positive opportunities there. What you want to release, as I'm looking at the environmental sort of influences for you, is any sort of fear that you have over this not being possible. Now, granted, it's good to have a good set of sort of critical thoughts about anything that you're going to engage in, because it makes you ask the right questions. It gives you a momentary pause so you prepare yourself. But if you give in too much to that critical thought, then it actually goes to the can't, won't, never sort of thing, and I don't want you to go there. Focus on your sleep patterns, because a lot of times with the Nine of Swords, either you're engaged in unhealthy sleep patterns or maybe not getting the rest that you need. And so, this is something you might have to work out with your doctor, or you might need to take a look at the room that you're sleeping in. And one thing that we forget sometimes is, is there any sort of light pollution coming in that's somehow interfering with your ability to get the most out of the sleep? Are you watching TV before you go to bed? If so, you want to really kind of reduce unnecessary light and sound, unless you're using like white noise or something relaxing. But you want to try to clear out the area of distractions, of clutter, and try to see that as a sacred area where every night you take care of yourself and you give back to yourself. So focus on really good sleep, and then looking at fears and only getting the sort of critical questions you need, but not feeding too much into it and spiraling into this thing of it's almost palpable. I felt it a little bit earlier when I was pulling some cards in your core area. So you might want to be doing some exercises on strengthening your core, whether that's through yoga, Pilates, sit-ups, or any sort of fitness. It doesn't matter, just so that you strengthen the core area. I'm looking at 7 of Cups here in your opportunities, and I like that it's actually reversed. This is about becoming decisive after being in a period of indecisiveness. Or having so many opportunities in front of you that you realize, I need to focus on this and let the other things kind of go by the wayside. And that's really what the Spider card is saying as well. Reduce unnecessary clutter in your life, not just in your bedroom, but if there's people that take and take and take but don't reciprocate, time to let that go. If there are activities or anything that you're sort of giving your time and energy to and they're not replenishing you, it's time to pull back as well. It doesn't mean you have to do it forever, but I want you to kind of get out of this feeling of being zapped or like a battery that's been completely depleted. It's time to refill yourself. If you do this, the last part of the month is looking very good. We have the 9 of Cups, which generally speaking is very good. It means that you'll be in a place that emotionally feels a lot more solid than you did at the beginning of the month. The only sort of cautionary note that I see, and it's really light because this card isn't reversed, is to try not to go to either extreme of happiness or unhappiness or splurging too much. But with this card upright, I would say take care of yourself and know that as you get towards the end of the month, all of the hard work you're doing is going to start to make you feel better. And there may even be something that's worth celebrating towards the month's end. And whatever stress that you're putting into your reality at the moment, I don't necessarily see all of it as being necessary. So do yourself a favor then and really focus on taking a deep breath, looking at what your priorities are, giving yourself a little bit more credit perhaps than you have, that things will be okay, and just creating a plan of action. And that really is the main thing, that if I'm staying up late at night, and it happens to me too, I'll just think to myself, what can I do to feel more empowered in this situation? And sometimes I'll need to get up and write a list of things, or sometimes I think, all right, tomorrow morning I'm going to make this call, do this, or I need to push this deadline. Once I've made the decision, I take a deep breath and think, all right, I'll deal with that tomorrow. And you have to, at a certain point, let it go and take your power back. And that really is what this month is about for you as well. Just as much as it is about creating momentum, it's also about reclaiming your power. And that's why we have the Emperor right at the center. So let's start now with the expanded forecast. We'll take a look at health. A reminder that for me anyway, health is all inclusive. It includes mind, body, and spirit. So I want you to make sure that you're thinking about all of those things as we look at this card, and I'll do the same. And what I'm getting here is unconditional joy. And it was reversed here. So what this is reminding you to do is to make time for fun. More often than not, if I have a one-on-one reading with someone and there's a lot of tension, a lot of things that are kind of not working from a creative standpoint, I will ask a simple question, and 9 times out of 10, the person says they can't remember. And the question is, when was the last time you did something that you enjoyed? Because I think this is something that's more true of Western society and probably more in the modern time than it was in the past. But if we don't give ourselves a chance to sort of release, and that can be through going to a movie, going to the park, spending time with your children or your dogs, or just doing nothing, really decompressing, then we're not as productive. And sometimes the stress that I see here in this 9 of Swords card, that's what's happening. It just sort of like builds up. So I'd like to encourage you to do something in your life that brings you a sense of joy and accomplishment, and not necessarily accomplishment as like doing a certain goal. It's fun and I feel good. So playing an instrument, watching a movie, just again, sometimes decompressing and relaxing outside on a hammock if the weather's nice, or inside on the couch cuddled up with your dog or something like that. Do something where you're just taking care of yourself, okay? Having fun, enjoying with or without other people. But I do think it's important to feel like you're nurturing yourself. And that in and of itself is doing something, even though we think that I'm not being productive or this is a waste of time. Investing in yourself is never a waste of time. Loving yourself is never a waste of time. And feeling good is necessary to create a sense of productivity. So as far as your health goes, what could be holding you back from your wealth card that I'm seeing here, this Princess of Pentacles card in reverse, could be that you're not putting enough TLC and enough energy back into yourself, okay? Let's now take a look at your wealth and see if there's additional insights there. Wealth can include money, investments, career, and school. So let's see what the main focus of this card is. We have the Fool card here, which is speaking of new beginnings, new opportunities. It also is a very nice complement to the Sun card. Both involve the sense of adventure, youth, sometimes naivete. And so what I would want to say on your wealth is to not enter into something without being prepared. Being naive is trusting too much or not kind of doing your homework to see if someone has your best interests at heart. So I want you to be open and playful and looking for new opportunities. And this really is what the exploration part of the Fool card is saying, is just go out. It's okay to take some risks, but don't do them without doing your homework. So there's a difference between a foolhardy risk and a calculated risk. Make sure you've done the calculations and you feel good about what's at stake. All right, let's take a look now at your love card, which is really going to touch all relationships in your life, and see what the message is here. So we have this vibrational card here, which is speaking to the very first card that we pulled. You'll notice a great similarity between the two. Your vibration is either going to be what pulls in or pushes away love, possibilities, partnerships, basically everything. And so I want you to change your frequency this month. If you take a close look at this, for me, it's almost emanating from the heart center, but it could also be from the third eye. Basically, what you feel and what you think is exactly what you're seeing here. It is this is the closest I've actually seen to a good illustration of this, but it's like a satellite and the vibration echoes out. And if it's harmonious, you bring in harmonious experiences. If it's discordant, or if it's sort of a mess, then you pull in situations that test that out and help you try to solve or fix things. So I want you to start to think of things that are possible. When we went to like reducing this, if you keep fearing things, if you keep stressing out, have you ever noticed how some people just seem to have like a black cloud over them and bad things keep happening? Sometimes it's just momentum, and we talked about that. So I want you to create positive momentum and start to forecast possibilities. And that's going to help you bring in good partnerships, good love, relationships in your life. And if you're in a situation, notice that the predominant color here really is striking me as lower chakras here. I'm looking at the fourth chakra and the third chakra coming through mostly. But I want you to think about how to make the power dynamics shift a little bit. And this is all about I'm in control, I know what I want, and I'm ready to receive. And those sort of statements and thoughts that you're broadcasting will create that reality. The interesting thing with this is sometimes people think, well, I tried yesterday, I just started to broadcast and nothing happened. You have to start to program it into your aura. 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute is not enough. You start to create this sense of, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to start to take the strides that I need to fix this or shift the direction on this. And then every day you start making progress until you integrate it. So January is a month of integration, and know that whatever work you put into integrating positivity within your thoughts and your feelings, that's going to come back tenfold in your relationships, okay? So this is not saying that the love of your life is going to come. This is saying that the sooner that you change who you are and love yourself, the sooner that wonderful people come in as well. So I want you to start to fix what you need internally, and then know that that's going to be the big key to having success with relationships and partnerships. If you're already there, keep it up. This card is saying that what you're doing is working. Okay, now let's take a look at we looked at health, wealth, love. Let's look at your destiny card. And the destiny card is the equivalent of a GPS, taking a look at where you're headed and seeing if it feels good to you. And for you, we have the Burning Serpent, which is probably one of the most powerful cards in this particular Oracle deck. And this is one where your power or your belief in your own power is what makes things happen. So the best advice that I can give you is if you believe in yourself, then you're more than half the way there. If you don't, that's what's holding you back right now. And the other thing with this is to really use your sixth sense and use your ability to adapt. And don't be afraid of the element of surprise, because when I think of snakes, I think of how slow and kind of adept they are. And I don't want to use the word sneaky. I think it's actually the timing's perfect. So if you think of a really well-launched business idea, or if you think of someone that picks the perfect timing for a proposal, whether it's a wedding proposal or a business proposal, it's all about the element sometimes of surprise and timing. So really focus on that. And I feel like you've got good instincts, but you need to listen to them more. And if you do that, then just like this Burning Serpent, you have unbelievable power at your disposal, and 2018 could be a really potent year for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and summarize everything that's in front of us. We'll start off with my channeled information, which started with the word create, but I wanted to amplify it a little bit. It's about creating the momentum. It's not just about creating some project or whatever. It has to be a project, an opportunity, or an investment in yourself that's going to fuel 2018. So I want you to think really expansively. When we looked at the Catalyst card, it's saying to release unnecessary trappings, to create new things that are sort of an attractive energy. And it's interesting, when I looked at the love card, the relationship card, these are almost identical. And so that ability to let go and then start to broadcast new things is what's going to bring in better relationships across the board. As we look at the Celtic cross for this month, what the spread is focusing on initially is this sort of dichotomy, or this separation, actually, I should say, between all the hard work that you've done and then this feeling that it's not enough. Some of this is just about taking control and taking ownership and realizing that it wasn't a fluke, that you can continue on this positive streak. You're going to have to let go of some things, but they're going to, in a really beautiful way, come closer to what you had hoped for and your expectations. Notice how we're seeing the child come forward now, a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and that there's momentum behind him because he actually is riding a horse here. So the beginning of the year may be a little bit scary, but we have a lot of growth potential, and you're going to start to see the fruits of your labor, especially as we get into May and June. And I should say, when I'm looking at summer, I'm looking at summer from the Northern Hemisphere. As we look at the Two of Wands, clarity is what's most important when you're looking at your future, knowing what you need so that you can call it in. Trying to focus on the opportunities, not on the losses. Realizing that fear to a degree can be okay because it prepares you, but not if you give in to it. Clarity, again, is really, really important, and not getting too distracted and too committed to multiple things that may or may not be reciprocating your energy. Ultimately, the month ends on a very good note, maybe a cause for celebration. Only cautionary note whenever I see the Nine of Cups is not to overdo it. As we expand your forecasts and look at health, have fun. This card was reversed, so I really want you to find places in your life where you feel a sense of joy, of relaxation, of just that life is okay. When we look at wealth, there may be an opportunity for risk. Don't enter it with a sense of naivete, however. Prepare yourself, and then if it feels like a good calculated risk, go for it. We already talked at length about the vibrational shift that needs to happen in relationships, particularly in power dynamics, knowing that you have more control than you think, so reclaim it. Ultimately, knowing that your belief in yourself or your disbelief in yourself is what's going to create prosperity or the reverse this year and this month. So I want you to embrace the positive elements of this upright Burning Serpent card, which is you have a lot of potential. Don't underestimate the element of surprise and perfect timing. You really want to be thinking that stuff through this year. All right, so that brings this monthly reading to a close. But if you'd ever like a one-on-one reading, or you'd like to look at more depth at the new year, I do offer those one-on-one readings on my website, and I actually have more availability in January than usual, so I'll post a link in the description area below. Likewise, if you'd like to support this channel and just want to give back, there's a lot of ways to do so. You can do that either through a donation on my own website or through Patreon, and again, the links will be in the description area below. I'd also like to stay in touch. So if you're on social media like Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, feel free to join me. And otherwise, you can also join my newsletter. And again, all of this is below. Finally, I just want to say thank you so much for all the hard work that you've been doing on yourself over the course of the past 4 years almost that we've been doing this. So I really appreciate all of the support you're giving me, but more importantly, I appreciate the work you're doing on yourselves. I say this almost every month, but we need to continue to grow people with empathy, with good psychic skills and light working skills. So I hope in some small way I've been able to open up that world to you, and I hope you continue to develop yourselves so that, we have more light on this planet. We definitely need it right now. So in the meantime, I want to wish you much love, much light, and much continued growth as you enter into this new year. Happy New Year, and thank you so much for stopping by. Take care.